Looks like I am live. What's going on, y'all? If you don't know me, I am Mila, the host keeper. Bear with me because this is my first time on live. And it looks like I'm live. um, yeah, it looks like I'm live. So I'm gonna get started. Yeah, I'm gonna get started. If you have any questions as I go along, please put it in the chat, put it in the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. So I'm Mila, the housekeeper, and what I do is I clean vacation rentals, otherwise known as Airbnbs or short-term rentals in the Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio area. I am expanding throughout the United States, and I also teach people how to start and build and grow a successful Airbnb cleaning business because I've been in this industry for about 7 years now, and I'm always replacing somebody. I'm always replacing somebody. I cannot be everywhere, but it's also disheartening hearing about how other clients who have like a lot of Airbnbs, we're talking 50, 60, 100 Airbnbs, who really have a hard time finding cleaners. I mean, we're even talking about people who, hey, what's going on, Amber? I see Amber's here. Thank you for being here. I see a lot of people or a lot of Airbnb clients who, if they just had a really good cleaner or just a good cleaner who has automations and operations, it wouldn't be so hard. And the thing about it is, I feel like I can help because while I've been in this industry, I've noticed that Airbnb cleaning is different than residential cleaning. It's different than commercial cleaning, move in, move out, post construction. All the cleanings, they're all different in their own right. But when it comes to Airbnb cleaning, it's a lot of different things put together. It's like hotel slash residential slash hospitality business slash laundry slash logistics. I mean, it's almost like you got to be Jeff Bezos in this business. But so I am holding. Hey Anna, what's going on? I should have just done a live where I could just say hello to people and talk to everybody live. That would be nice. Hey Ida. Oh, nice. I'm gonna get into. I wish I knew how to I don't know if you can share a screen on YouTube, but I'll be looking at my screen with my presentation so that I can tell you guys a little bit about. So the presentation is on Airbnb Cleaning 101, just giving you information on the steps and give you an idea of what Airbnb cleaning is before you get into it. A lot of the people that follow me on my Instagram, Mila the Housekeeper, the same as my YouTube. A lot of people that follow me there are people who want to start and build their own Airbnb cleaning business. And I'm here for it. I'm like here to help support if I can. I do love that this is like a new endeavor. It's not something that's been out for years. I mean, Airbnb is like since 2008. It's not that old. So people are still trying to figure it out. And I know there's like a lot of good people out there and a lot of good cleaning companies out there that could do. It's not even that they could do better. It's just if they had the right information, they'd be killing it. So let's get into it. Um, I hope you can still see me. So I am again Mila, the housekeeper. I go by that name because my business name is called Hostkeeper, and HOSTKEYPER. And we're not housekeepers; we're hostkeepers. We keep the keys, and we always keep the host. So I actually started out as a cleaner. Um, I started as a cleaner in this business. I only clean Airbnbs. There's a lot of people out there who clean Airbnbs and residential, and they claim parts of their Airbnbs to be um, their main business. But I only clean Airbnbs at this moment. I mean, don't get me wrong, I might do a commercial cleaning business soon, but right now I only clean Airbnbs for the past almost 7 years. I do on average $500,000 $600,000 a year in the business. So there is, and it's about 40% profit, net profit. So after, well, before taxes. And I have done up to 1,000 cleans a month. I even did a quarter million in the pandemic. So it almost makes me think cleaning in general is almost, recession proof. There's always going to be buildings. There's always going to be something to clean, and maybe not everybody wants to clean it, so they'll pay for it, and that's where all of us in the cleaning business come out. Right now, I'm currently in 3 cities, which is Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. And like I said, I plan on growing throughout the United States with Hostkeeper, and I'm here to teach you about it. All right, so I just want to give you an idea of like where I started and where I started and how it's going. How about that? So where I started was I grew up in Oklahoma. My dad was in the military. So most of my childhood was in Oklahoma. So it was very Bible Belt, quiet, uneventful things going on. So I grew up most like most Americans where you understand where you go from high school to college to some kind of corporate business, corporate job. Um, oops, sorry. That gives you some kind of, um, you know, 45, 50, 60, $70,000 a year. And you get insurance and you get a 401k. And that's exactly what I did. I graduated from college. I studied business. Um, I just wanted to graduate. I was never a good student throughout my whole life, so I couldn't wait to finish school. But um, after school, I went into the corporate world and I started for 3 years. I did auditing, which is really shocking to a lot of people. It's shocking to me because, um, whatever. I actually, it was a really good company and it was a really good job. So I was like, I'm going to take it. I'm going to do the best that I can. But it wasn't my thing. But at the same time, I didn't really know what to do. So what happened was, which at the time I was very upset about, but now that it's like years past, I'm okay with it. Like I got fired, and I pretty much know why I got fired. Like I was not falling in line, and that's just like how I am. I like to think outside of the box, and I like to share that with people. And if you kind of want me to put me inside of a box, it doesn't really work out like that for me. So I kind of didn't fall in line. And whenever, some ridiculous things happened in my reviews where it's like, oh, well, you didn't invite people to the lunch and that's on your review that you don't get along well with people. And that, like, a lot of things had nothing to do with my job. And I'm not about that life. I'm not about that life. Like, like life, they say it's short. It feels kind of long, but they say life is short. And, I don't really need to deal with all of that stuff. Like, for what and why? So when I got fired 3 years later, I was like upset, embarrassed. Like, my parents were telling me, you need to get another job, you need to get 401k, you need to get insurance. And I really had to step back and think, like, do I really want to go back into something that, one, I don't really like being there. I didn't like, the job was okay. It didn't give me any kind of life. But I just thought that was probably my only option. And since I was, in a place where I was, you know, in a place where I was already thinking about a business while I was working at the job, and I was already thinking about my business. And so I ended up thinking, okay, well, what if I just jump in the water and see how it goes? Because I really have nothing to lose. Like, what do I have to lose? You don't even want me over here at the corporate world. So why would I try to go find a job to go back to a place that I don't really fit in? Like, I just didn't fit in there. And so I really thought this is my chance to turn it around. Instead of thinking like this is negative that I got fired. Yeah, at the time it felt negative. It felt embarrassing. and like your coworkers are like, what happened? And but I mean, that stuff doesn't really matter. So what I ended up doing was, while I was at work, I was one of those 9 to 5 people. I was one of those people who are like, I'm not working after 5. Like, I'm going home. Y'all already have my whole life. I traveled for work. I would leave every Monday and come back every Friday. So I was always in a hotel room, always eating restaurant food. And I mean, it was fabulous at the time. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna complain. But at the same time, like, that was my whole life. And I didn't have like any other life. It's not like I can leave work and then go hang out with friends or connect with people. It wasn't like that. So I took a chance and I started a business where I sold upscale used wedding dresses. Cause these dresses people are buying for like $5,000, $10,000. And I figured, like, let me sell them at my store. So I mean, I'm not gonna skip all the steps. I'm gonna skip all the steps, but I found a place in Houston, in a good part of a busy business area, and I opened my store. I got a lot of dresses in there. I got on local news, just because the story was interesting. I was also renting, um, what is it called? Bridesmaids dresses. I was also renting bridesmaids dresses, and so it was like a new and first thing happening in the city. So I got a lot of media attention for it, but I really didn't sell anything. I really didn't sell anything. So you start realizing, okay, even though you get a lot of media attention, it doesn't mean that you are going to have a lot of money with this business. Plus, you're dealing with brides. I didn't really even know how to sell at the time. I'm just learning now. I still don't really know how to sell. Well, we learn as we go. So at the time, people would come in, try on dresses, and that's how it was. And the business lasted about 2 years until I realized I'm not making any money, like, at all. So I closed my store and I see like there's more people here. So hey, Jesse, Leo Sun, hi Jessica, Sharon, and Jamal. Oh, Jamal! I just had a call with Jamal not too long ago, a one-on-one call. Very positive person. So thank you guys for being here. So I started that business. It didn't make any money. It wasn't going well for me. I always knew that I had to give like a business at least 2 years. And that's what I gave it. If it's going to go up, it's going to go down. They say what 20% of businesses fail in the first year. I wanted to make it to 5 years, but I also shouldn't be so stubborn. When something's not working, it just wasn't working. And it was such a new thing. And I always like new things. I mean, that's why I'm in vacation rental cleaning. It's because it's like nobody's doing vacation rental cleaning. At the time in the end of 2016, when I started it, I would look up Airbnb cleaning, Houston, Dallas, Austin, and nobody would pop up. So I was like, you know what, maybe I should do it. So I closed down my business. And then what ended up happening was I had a friend that lived in South Korea. So I kind of did like a like a quick life change where I closed down my store and I'm like, well, I don't really have anything here. And so she's like, come visit me. I went to go visit her for 2 months. I stayed with her for 1 month, but I ended up getting a job at a bar, which was fun, for a month. And then I told myself, I promised myself that I'm not going to get comfortable and stay with my friend. So I stayed with her for 1 month, but then the next month I went to Seoul, the capital of Korea, because I was in the southern part of South Korea with my friend in the near the ocean where the oil and gas stuff is going on. And I went to Seoul for a month and I had a really good time. I ended up getting a job teaching English in Korea. I mean, it was easy, honestly. I mean, that's another podcast for another day. But I was just there visiting, and as long as you have, I'm not trying to advertise, but as long as you have a degree, clean fingerprints, and you speak English well, especially if you have an American passport, you can teach English in South Korea. And they paid for my apartment, they paid for my flight there. So that was kind of like easy for me to go and move over there because I already had a job, I already had a roof over my head. And I was like, okay. And I needed a break. I knew that I wanted to be in business, but I really couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. But at the same time, American life is hectic. So it was nice to take a break and live in a place that's really slowed down, and it was cool to discover a new place, to be quite honest. And I ended up getting a job there. So I had to come back to the United States for like 3 months and then go back to South Korea. So I stayed there for another year. So I was there like a total of like, about a year and a half. And then 6 months after that, after I was done with my contract teaching, and I only worked 20 hours a week. That was the crazy thing. I worked 20 hours a week. They paid for everything. It was a really cool experience. So what ended up happening was, um, I didn't want to go straight home after I was done living in South Korea. So I decided to travel the world for 6 months. And I told myself every month I'm going to be at a different country. So it was mostly Southeast Asia that I was at. And then on the way back, I spent like some time in Spain, in Barcelona and Ibiza. Ibiza. And so what ended up happening was my brother was having his first son or his first child, and he asked me, could I come back? And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll come back. And I ended up coming back to the United States, but I really didn't have anything. There was no plan. I didn't have not even a place to live. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a job to come back to. So I stayed. I was bopping around for a while. Like I got a roommate for a little bit. I didn't have that much money because when you leave South Korea after teaching, I think at the time they gave me like $5,000, but I spent some of that just traveling. I was traveling on the cheap, staying at hostels. But when I came back, and I had invested in a travel app that the app developer basically just stole all of my money, didn't even do much about the app. So I came back with pretty much nothing. Like it was squeezed, but even though I was mad about getting fired before, at least I had a 401k. And I know you're not supposed to take out your 401k and all that stuff, but I had absolutely no choice, because what ended up happening was I'm on my friend's sofa and it's like, what do I do with my life? Do I um come up with this business and try to figure out some kind of business, because I didn't have any idea of what business I was going to do. Or every time I applied for a job, and every time I got a call back, and every time I thought about that I have to wake up like at 6 o'clock in the morning to be somewhere at 8 o'clock and commute for like an hour, I mean, my body started shaking. And I think that was just a sign that like you better not go on that path or it's not going to go well for you. Um, and I just had to be brave. So I did take out my 401k. I bought a car like super cheap cash. I got an apartment. They didn't even want to give me an apartment because I didn't have a job. But I convinced them. That's another podcast for another day too. But I learned how to negotiate. Um, and I ended up getting an apartment in not the best part of town at all, but at least I had a roof over my head. And I lived there for a while without a car. And then I ended up like walking across the freeway to go to like the first car dealership that I could go to. Of course, they tried to swindle me, and they did. But I mean, I was so desperate. Like I didn't have anything. So I would listen to at the time, I listened to a whole lot of podcasts, and I stopped to think, okay, what can I do? Actually, the podcast said something about like you can start a business with anything. Just look around and see around you what you can start a business with. I guess like what can you sell? Like what can you do? And I looked around and I saw my broom, because I lived by myself, and because I lived in the ghetto, I didn't want to feel like the ghetto in my house. So I always had a clean space. Plus, I didn't have anything in there. I mean, I just had a bed, no joke, and I did have my brother's old sofa in there, but no TV, nothing, like for real. And then I ended up getting a desk. My cousin works for like this office company. She gave me a desk. She gave me a chair. So I was surviving. And so before I got to that place, when I came back from South Korea, I went straight to Austin, Texas, thinking that I can get this travel app that I was dreaming about off. and running when I go to Austin and find somebody techie and like work together and stuff like that. And that didn't work out. But what I did get from there was my idea for cleaning Airbnbs. That's where it came from. And I was at an Airbnb. She had the host had a 4-bedroom house, and she even told me like, if somebody wants to rent my master bedroom, I go to my boyfriend's house. And she travels a lot. She loves Brazil, and I was like, I want to do this because I love travel, obviously. So I was thinking, what I'm gonna do to make sure I don't come back broke and with nothing the next time I travel for a long period of time outside of my home country. I'm going to make sure I have a house, and I make sure that, you know, the bills are going to get paid, or the mortgage or the rent. And I was thinking Airbnb would be nice so that whenever I feel like coming back home, I can stay in my house. So that was my whole idea of what I was going to do. And I guess most people would stop there and be like, okay, I'm going to have my own Airbnb. But what I thought was like, who's going to take care of my Airbnb while I'm gone? While I'm living my best life in France or in Bali? Like, who's going to take care of my place? Who can I trust that can take care of my place? So that's where I came up with Hostkeeper, the idea of it. And I'm not even going to lie to you guys. I bought a domain name and I sat on it for like a year. I talk about how I do like $600,000, $500,000 every year, but I sat on it for a year doing nothing. And the apartment that I got, I paid 6 months up front. I mean, obviously it was cheap enough that I could pay 6 months up front, but I paid 6 months up front. But the next 6 months, because I did a year contract, I had to figure out how I'm going to pay for it. Like how I had no money coming in, and I had to decide. I had a lot of talks with myself. They think people who talk to themselves are crazy. I think people need to talk to themselves so that so you process where you want to go and what you want to do. So I would talk to myself and I would think, okay, I only got 6 months to figure it out. So what am I going to do? Okay. Eventually I look around the room. I see my broom. I have a mop. I have a bucket. I'm okay. I'm going to clean. And because previously I went to that Airbnb where she had the bed clean, tucked, a mint on the bed, a little TV. It looked like a little hotel room. And so I'm like, okay, it looks like nobody's doing this. So let me just do it. I really had nothing to lose, other than getting a job and being somewhere at 8:00 in the morning and getting paid $45,000 a year, which now sounds absurd. So I did that. And so I bet on myself. Like I said, I had nothing to lose. So this is actually my thought process. I'm like, what I'm going to do is build a website in a weekend. I'm going to build a website in a weekend and I'm going to publish it and I'm going to put it on Craigslist with my website on there. I did that exact thing. I did not leave from my desk for 2 days. I mean, other than to sleep and take a shower and go to bed, and that's it. Then I got right back up and sat there. The cool thing was I didn't have a TV and I didn't have Spotify and all that stuff. I didn't have any luxuries. So I did have my slow laptop. I still have that thing and it's slow, super slow. Like my husband bought me this laptop after we got together because he was like, I don't even know how you survived. But you got to make do with what you got. And so that's exactly what I did. And I thought about the business. I built a website. I literally looked at other people's cleaning business websites and kind of like took the pieces that I liked and put it on there. And I published it. It was a drag and drop. I don't know how to code. It's called Weebly drag and drop. So I built it as the best possible way that I could make the website because I'm not a IT person. I'm not a coder. I made a post on Craigslist. And actually, I made the SEO so well. I also listened to podcasts on how to do SEO, search engine optimization, which means basically how to get found on the internet. So when after I made the post, I Googled Airbnb cleaning Houston. And what ended up happening was my Craigslist post ended up at the top. Outside of there's ads. And then, at the time there was just ads. And then like my post, I'm like, okay, well, that's good. And I got my first 2 customers in that same weekend. I got my first two customers one day after the other, which was really cool. And they're both legit. They're both they one of them only did his Airbnb for about a year and a half, 2 years, and the other one is still with me. And then slowly from that Craigslist post, slowly I was getting probably like probably I had about like six Airbnbs, six hosts that I was dealing with. And I was doing about like 30 cleans a month. So that's, I mean, and I wasn't really expecting to go very far with it. I was just thinking like that's it. Like I'm gonna do 30 cleans a month, and it wasn't really going anywhere. So I ended up meeting my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, who wanted to move back to Colorado. And I'm not about that cold life, but I'm like, okay, we can live there in the summer. But the first week I was there, oh, and actually I had two employees with me. Um, and I use the word employee loosely. They're 1099s, but they work for my company, independent